You've probably heard of Romeo and Juliet, but have you heard the story of the poet who went truly mad for love? This is a tale from long before Shakespeare, born from the sands of the Arabian Peninsula. It's the story of Qays and Layla. Imagine two young souls from the same tribe, Qays ibn al-Mulawa and Layla al-Amiriya. Their love story wasn't written in letters but in poems. Qays, a gifted poet, filled his verses with Layla's name, her eyes, her smile. Their love was pure, innocent, a secret whispered between the dunes. They would meet in secret, sharing glances and dreams, believing their love was strong enough to conquer anything. But love in a tribal society came with strict rules. When Layla's family discovered their secret romance, they were horrified. A man openly declaring his love for their daughter before marriage brought shame upon their family name. The poems that Qays thought were beautiful declarations were seen as a breach of honor. To protect their reputation, Layla's father made a swift and brutal decision. Layla was to be married off immediately to another man, a wealthy noble from a neighboring tribe. And Qays was forbidden from ever seeing her again. The news shattered Qays. His world, once filled with poetry and light, collapsed into darkness. He pleaded with Layla's father, offering everything he had, but the decision was final. Layla, bound by duty and honor, was taken away, leaving Qays alone with his grief. But a poet cannot be silenced so easily. If he couldn't speak to Layla, he would speak to the world about her. His heartbreak poured out into his poetry. He wandered the marketplace, the alleyways, and the open desert, reciting verses about his lost love. His poems were raw, filled with a pain so deep it was almost tangible. He spoke of her beauty, the cruelty of their separation, and his undying devotion. People began to notice. At first, they were moved by his words. But as the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Qays' grief began to consume him. He stopped eating, stopped caring for himself. He abandoned his home and his family, choosing the desolate wilderness of the desert as his only companion. His only purpose was to write and recite poems for Layla. He would write her name in the sand, talk to the animals as if they were messengers to his beloved, and his voice, hoarse with sorrow, would carry his verses on the desert wind. This is when people started calling him Majnun Layla, which translates to Layla's madman. He was no longer Qays the poet. He was a man possessed by a love that had driven him to the edge of sanity. He became a legend, a wandering specter of heartbreak. Travelers would see him from a distance, a lone figure against the vast emptiness, his clothes in tatters, his hair wild, lost in his own world of sorrowful poetry. What about Layla? She was trapped in a loveless marriage. Though she lived in a fine house with every comfort, her heart remained in the desert with her Majnun. She would hear whispers of his madness, tales of the beautiful, tragic poems he was creating in her name. Her heart ached for him, but she was a prisoner of her circumstances, unable to escape her fate. Her own life became a silent poem of suffering, a quiet parallel to Qays' loud public despair. The legend of Majnun Layla grew. His poetry became famous across the land. People would seek him out, not to mock him, but to listen. They would find him surrounded by wild gazelles who were said to be tamed by the sadness in his voice. They would write down his verses, preserving the outpourings of a broken heart. His words were so powerful, so filled with genuine emotion, that they transcended his madness. He became the ultimate symbol of unconditional, all-consuming love. Years passed, Qays never recovered. He spent his life wandering the desert, a living embodiment of love and loss. The story of his final days is shrouded in mystery. Some say he simply vanished into the sands, his spirit finally rejoining the wilderness he had called home. But the most common version of the tale says that he was found lifeless, collapsed over a rock in a remote valley. In his hand, he clutched his final poem, one last verse written for the woman who was his entire world. When Layla heard of his death, her own fragile hold on life gave way. She passed away shortly after, her heart finally giving in to the grief she had carried for so long. They were never united in life, but in death their names became forever intertwined. The story of Majnun and Layla isn't just a romance, it's a testament to the power of art to immortalize emotion. Qays lost his mind, his family, and his life, but he created something eternal. His poems have survived for over 1,000 years, passed down through generations. They have been translated into countless languages and have inspired countless other stories, operas, and films. Unlike Romeo and Juliet, whose tragedy unfolds over a few dramatic days, the story of Qays and Layla is a slow, lifelong burn of devotion and sorrow. It explores what happens when love is so intense it becomes a form of madness, a sacred obsession that transcends social norms, reason, and even life itself. It is a story that reminds us that the greatest love stories are not always the ones with happy endings, but the ones that are never forgotten. His madness was his art, and his art made him immortal. Thank you for watching. If you were moved by this ancient tale of love and poetry, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories from history. See you next time.